IoT, which is Internet of Things in Azure. So we'll learn all that today. So when we want to start, I would like us to look at storage account. When we talk about storage accounts in Azure in real life, it talks about what you can use to store something. In our physical system, what we use to store data are our hard disks or our hard drive. You can use it to store data. So it could be SSD, it could be HDD. So in terms of storing structured data, that is where you now talk about SQL server, installing SQL server so that you can store structured data, so that you can query those data. So it still applies to storage account. So storage account has 4 flavors. We have storage for unstructured data. We have storage for queues, which is messages. We have storage for the main data itself, which is Azure table. And also we have storage for files. Today we are going to be exploring the storage services that Microsoft Azure has in place. So now I'm going to start. I'm already logged into the Azure portal here, which is where you can create all the resources in Microsoft Azure. So first thing first, I will just assume that I've not logged into Microsoft Azure. I'll just click on a new tab. Then on the new tab, I'll just go to portal.azure.com. So if this is your first time, I know some of us will say, I don't have subscription. Don't worry. The little you have, just make do with it. By God's grace, with time. As time goes on, some of us will be here live one day to present. It won't be only me. One person will come, do some presentations, so we'll all learn together. So here now, this is Microsoft Azure. I'm logged into Microsoft Azure. So one thing with Microsoft or any cloud provider, just know what you want. Know what you want to create. Once you know what you want to create, then you'll be able to do it. So right here now, we want to create a storage account. What is storage account used for? In a very simple way, storage account is used to store data. So right now, I'll just type search for storage accounts here. Assuming I'm a novice, I don't even know anything about Microsoft Azure. My boss just tells me, okay, go and create a storage account for us. I will just come here, search for storage accounts, and I'll see the option for storage account. Then once you select storage account, you are going to see, if you have existing storage account, you will see them here now. I have storage accounts here, which is CSB storage account. I have another one here, which is one password storage account. I have another one here, which is STEM Oyimafu storage account. So here, as it is here, I'm going to be creating a new storage account so that we can learn how to create a storage account. If I come here, I'll click on create. So from create here, there are some settings I'm going to fill to create a storage account. So let's just wait for it to load. So now, the first thing first, like I made mention the other time, you have to create a resource group because resource group is good. It helps you group your resources together. So that is the advantage of resource group. Like the example I gave, like in church now, if you want to group people, you group them by units. They can say, okay, if you're in protocol, you're in sanctuary unit. So those different units now, it's more or less like a resource group where you have different people. So the people in those units now are the resources in those units. So here now, the resource group here, you're going to select the resource group. And the resource group I created was YAF Cloud Computing because everything I'm going to be creating on Azure, I want them to be on a single resource group. So right here now, I'll give the storage account a name. So if I'm to give it a name, I can just call it, let me use Agboola storage account, AGBOORA. Then let me just say SA. Let me see if someone have used it before. So one thing with storage account, the name has to be globally unique. When they say something is globally unique, it means that in the whole world, nobody should have used that name. If anybody have used it, it will flag it. Because any name you want to create with a storage account, it has to be a name that nobody have used before. That means it has to be unique. You need to look for a unique name that nobody has used before. So now I've defined the storage account name. So that's the first thing. After defining the storage account name, the next thing is region. So for region now, if you want to create, remember, it's better you create resources on a region that is close to you than going far. Because if you create the resources on region that is close to you, it's better. It's better, like it's better in terms of even you retrieving your data from Microsoft data center. It's easier for you to retrieve your data. So it's best practice you select a region that is close to you. So now we have selected West Europe. Under the primary service, if you collapse it, we have different services that you can select. We have Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. We have Azure Files or Azure or other tables queue. Like these options now, if you are creating a storage account and you are being specific, okay, I want to create this storage account for Azure Files. I want to create this storage account for Azure Blob. I want to create this storage account for Table. You can just pick any one you want to select. But in this case, we are just going to leave it as default. So if you leave it as default, that means you are not selecting any service. You are going to get all the storage account services completely. So now for performance, we have standard and premium. So we all know that when they say premium, you are talking about a more better standard and a more better feature. Standard is more or less like it's recommended for most scenarios. Like when they say most scenarios, like maybe organizations that are like SMBs, small and medium organizations, they can use it. You can use it for different purpose. It can serve different purpose for you. If you maybe you want to be using files, you want to use the storage account for backup, you want to use the storage account to store pictures from a website, it is standard. You can use it. But for premium now, these are recommended for scenarios that requires low latency. So if you are building a solution and you need the access to your storage to be very swift, then you can use premium. But remember, anything premium comes with more money. Even if you are doing normal subscription, maybe Go TV or DSTV, premium subscription is always very expensive. So here we'll just go for standard. Standard is okay since it is recommended for even most scenarios. So we'll just go for standard. Then we'll now come down for the redundancy. This redundancy is very important because redundancy is just like backup. Okay, I want my data to be in this region. I want it to be in only one region. I want it to be in only one data center in that region. Here now we have local redundant storage. Local redundant storage now is the lowest cost options. So if you are writing exam, they can ask questions like, okay, they will ask you that, okay, if you want to create a storage account and you want the cheapest among the storage account, then they will now tell you what features they want the storage account to have. They may say the storage account should just be in one data center. If they say it should be in one data center, it means that it's local redundant storage. Yeah, now for local redundant storage, we can see here that it is the lowest cost options with basic protection against server rack and drive failures recommended for non-critical scenarios. This one is the lowest cost option with the basic protection against server rack and drive failure. So this one now is recommended for non-critical scenario. We can even see it local. When they say something is local, it means it is local within an environment. It's local within an environment. It can't go outside the environment. So for your storage to be local redundant storage, it means it is local on a single data center in a region. That's local redundant storage. Then the next option is geo redundant storage. So this geo now, what it means is that your data will be on a primary region and a secondary region. So this one now, intermediate option with failover capabilities in the secondary region. This one, your data will only be on the primary region, but this option, your data will be on the what? Secondary region. Why zone redundant storage? This one is intermediate option with protection against data center level failures. This one now, the way this one is more or less like your data will still be in the same region, but even in that region, it will be on different data centers in that region. So that's for zone redundant storage. Let me give an example. If, for instance, now Microsoft have data center in Nigeria, maybe let me use Nigeria as a region as a Microsoft region. So if Nigeria is a Microsoft region, if you are using local redundant storage, maybe Microsoft have data center in Ota, they have data center in Lekki, they have data center in let's say Iyanakwaja, Lekki, and Ota. So if you are using local redundant storage, your data will only be in Ota. If you deploy, if for instance now you selected maybe Nigeria, it will be in one data center in Nigeria. It will be in Ota. Then if you are using geo redundant storage, now your data will not only be in Ota in Nigeria, your data will also be in Ghana because your data will not be in a secondary region, not just one region. It will be in a secondary region, both in the region where you picked when you were creating your resource group. Like here now, we'll pick West Europe. Your resources will be on that region and on a secondary region, just like the definition here. Then for zone redundant storage, like I made mention, your data will still be on the primary region, but it will be in other data centers. Now, your data will now be in Ota and Iyanakpaja, meaning that you have more redundancy than somebody using local redundant storage. Because somebody using local redundant storage, the storage is just local within a single data center in a region. But somebody using zone redundant storage, the person has more redundancy because your storage is not just only on the data center where your storage account was deployed, it's in another data center in that region. That's just what zone redundant storage will do for you. Then the third option is dual zone redundant storage. This one is all just the senior brother of the geo redundant storage. So this one combines geo redundant storage and zone redundant storage. So it gives you much more protection. It includes offering of both geo redundant storage and zone redundant storage. This is recommended for critical data scenarios. So as cloud engineers, most times we find ourselves being consultants because customers will tell you what they want. Then you tell them, okay, if this is what you want, go for zonal redundant storage. If maybe you just want maybe simple protection, you don't really want to use the storage account for a very critical use case, then you can go for local redundant storage. So in our own case, we'll be selecting local redundant storage. Then after selecting local redundant storage, that's all we have in the basic tab. Now we are done with the basic tab. So the first thing we specify was you have to pick your subscription. Then you select your resource group. Then after selecting your resource group, you give the storage account a name, which is very important. Name is very important in creation of storage account, and the name has to be globally unique. If somebody you have used Agbola before, if I put it there, it won't work. But if nobody have used it, it will work. That's why the name has to be unique. Nobody would have used it before. Then the next one is primary service. If, for instance, you have a primary service that you don't want all the service, you can select it. But in our case, we want all the service because I want you guys to see how all the service work. Then we'll go to the next tab, which is advanced. So if we come to advanced here now, this is where you can enable some settings for security. We can see here, require secure transfer for RSA APIs. So if you want your storage account to receive RSA API calls, then you check it. Then for anonymous, for to allow enabling anonymous access on individual containers, if you check it, what it means is that anonymous people can have access to your individual containers. So all these are security measures. Because if you check allow anonymous access to individual container, what it means is that anybody anywhere can have access to your container, which is not best practice. It's not best practice at all for you to allow just anybody to just come and have access to your container just like that. It is not best practice. So that's why it's good we prevent that. Then for TLS version, trustless layer security, we have different versions. TLS 1.0 is more or less like the legacy one. It's not really used again. Microsoft is advising people to move to version 1.2. So here now, the minimum version, if you are selecting if you are selecting version 1.2, it means that any application that will use your storage account, if it is not on TLS 1.2 version, it will not work because the minimum version you are saying here is TLS 1.2. So that is why sometimes if you are creating resources, you need to provide a questionnaire to the client. Okay, is this okay by you? Is this what you want? Because if you go and create the storage account now, you say the minimum version is TLS, is version 1.2, and maybe the customer wants to use it for file sync, the storage account for file sync. That's to sync files from local server to the cloud. And maybe that server is 2012 R2, like old operating system. That's what the server is using. And maybe it can't go to TLS 1.2. They have even tried and it's not working. It means that it will fail because the minimum version is specified here is 1.2. So that is why we have to be intentional about any settings we make. Now, permitted scope for copy operations. So from any storage account. So now we have other options here. from storage accounts in the same Microsoft Entra tenant, from storage accounts that have private endpoint to the same virtual network. So all these are more or less like security measures that you can specify when you are creating a storage account. So, but since we are just starting, we can maybe not pay attention too much on all that. But the major things that I would like us to really cover, I'm going to touch all of them. So here now we have access protocol, enable SF, SFTP. So SFTP now is a protocol that you can use for heretical namespace accounts. So all these are like advanced. Then for blob storage now, we have access tier. Now, if you want to allow cross-tenant replication, we have what we call replication. Replication means replicating information from one storage to another storage. So for something to replicate, it means what is here will be the same thing that will be here. That's replication. So now for you to allow cross-tenant replication, you need to click on this checkbox, depending on what you want. So if you click on this checkbox, it means that you are allowing cross-tenant replication. That's just the meaning. Then for access tier, we have different options. One of them is not here, which is archive. So for HOT, it is optimized for frequently accessed data and everyday use scenario. So if you have data that you need to be accessing every day, that means maybe your storage account, the data you want to be storing in your storage account are data that you'll be accessing daily on a daily basis, then you need to use the hot access tier. But if the data that you'll be stored in your storage account are data that you will be accessed infrequently, like not all the time, then you use school. But if they are the ones that you will be accessing rarely, like rarely access, then you use code. Let me use WhatsApp as an example. Some of us, like guys, girls, we do it. You may archive somebody's chat, like, okay, this person, I don't want to be seeing the person's chat. When you archive somebody's WhatsApp chat, the person's chat will not show again on the list of your chat until you go and click on archive before you'll be able to see that person's chat. That is just the same thing as code, which is COLD. COLD, code, not cool. We have cool, we have code. COLD is optimized for rarely accessed data and backup scenarios. So any data that you know that you are not really accessing all the time, then you use code. So if a customer tell you now, I want to create a storage account for backup, backup is not something you access all the time. It's only when you want to do recovery. When you want to do recovery, maybe somebody mistakenly deleted something from their system or deleted something somewhere, then you want to do recovery, then you can always come to the storage account so that you can point to the restore points and do your recovery. So in that case, you can go for code. Code. You can go for code. So that's just what we need to know. But in this scenario, I'll just leave it as hot. Hot should be the default. Then the next option here is networking. So for networking now, for network access, if you say enable public access from all network, it means every network, everybody have access to your storage account from all network, which is not really good. If you say you want to allow all network to have access to your storage account, it's not best practice. So then you can say enable public access from selected virtual network and IPs. When you say enable public access, remember on our first class, we created a virtual network. If you do not join our first class, on the chat, I'm going to drop the link to the class so that we can go and watch the video. We created a virtual network on that class. So this section, I'm going to be uploading it to my YouTube channel. So at least we are going to go back and rewatch again. So here now if you say enable public access from selected virtual network, then you have to select a virtual network in your environment that you want to be having, that you want the storage account to be, so that anybody that must access it must be in that virtual network. Let's not confuse virtual network to be something big. Virtual network is just like your physical network. It's just like, for instance, now I'm saying that for somebody to access a storage in my physical environment, I want the person to be in that network. It means that if you are not in the office, you can't access it. And because it is physical, right? It's in our physical location. So for cloud environments now, cloud doesn't have anything like LAN, anything like cable. It's virtual network. So for you to be able to access that storage account, you have to be on that virtual network. If you are not on that virtual network, there's no way you'll be able to access that storage account. That's just exactly what I'm trying to say. If you say enable from public access from all internet, that means everybody, everywhere, they have access to your storage account. Like anybody can just, like, if anybody have access to the maybe the blob URL, the person will access the picture directly. So that's just what this is. So now let's go. Here now we can just say for virtual network, I'll just say enable public access from all network. But if I'm to make my storage account more secured, then I won't do that. I can just say enable public access from selected virtual network. So if you want to use private endpoint, you can use private endpoint. Private endpoint is good because it allows private connection to the resources. If you want maybe your database to connect to your storage account via private network, you can use private endpoint to achieve that. So we can just go to the next settings, which is data protection. Storage account without data protection is useless. Anything that lacks data, any storage without protection is not useful. That's why our physical hard drive, if anything happened to it, it don't go. That is why most times they will tell you always back up your files to the cloud. Because if you back up your files to the cloud, nothing will happen. Anytime, for instance, now, God forbid somebody lost his phone and your pictures are in Google Drive. Anytime you can always go to Google Drive and get your pictures. But if it's in your phone and God forbid the phone lost, the picture don't go. I've lost a lot of pictures, a lot of things that I saved on memory card, like pictures that, like, it was even mistakenly. I don't know what happened, but I just lost those pictures. It's paining me because I don't have them backed up anywhere. Like pictures that I would have needed, I would have need for my personal life, but it's gone. So that is why back storage without backup or without protection is useless. That's just the truth. Then here now we have recovery. So protect your data from accidental or enormous deletion or modification. If I say enable point in time restore for containers, that means if somebody mistakenly deletes any container, when we start working, we are going to see what container is. If anybody mistakenly deletes any container, then there should be a way we can restore back. So if I check this box, enable point in time restore, what it means is that I'm going to specify the time that is going to happen. Here now we can see an error here. Point in time restore requires versioning, blob change. Now, if I want to enable point in time restore, what it means is that I have to enable versioning here. If I don't enable versioning, it won't work. So what does versioning is? Versioning is more or less like giving you version history of things that change in an environment. So if you're working on a document now, and maybe on a blank document, the blank document that nobody have worked on will be version 1. Then if somebody types anything on that document, it will be version 2. If somebody type more things, version 3, version 4, version 5 to version 6. If, for instance, now you want to roll back to version 1, you can. Because if you're using OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, versioning is enabled. So you can always go back to the previous version. So the same thing also happened in blob. So for you to be able to do what was that option again? This enable point in time restore for containers. You have to make sure versioning is enabled. That's why they are telling us here. Point in time restore require versioning, blob, change feed, and blob soft delete to be enabled. So for this is just a lab environment. If it's a production environment, then you must do this because you know you can't control human beings. They can just delete anything like just like that. The only one I'm going to enable is enable soft delete for blob. So soft delete for when they say soft delete, it means that if somebody deletes something, it will be soft. But when they say soft delete, if somebody deletes something, it won't delete permanently. It will still be kept somewhere. You can always go back and recover it back. But when you say hard delete, that means it's gone. If somebody say hard delete is more or less like you delete something from your system, it goes to recycle bin. Then you now went to recycle bin and delete it from recycle bin. It means that you have done hard delete. The delete don't go. Or you do shift delete to permanently delete. That is hard delete. But if you delete on your system and it moves to recycle bin, it means that that is soft delete, because you can always go to recycle bin and restore it back. So the same thing happens in storage account also. If you enable sub delete for blob, it means that if you delete anything in that blob, it goes to the recycle bin. You can always go there to restore it back because it is soft. Here now, how many days are we saying it should retain those data? 7 days. If I specify 14 days, it means that 14 days, within 14 days, the data will be there. But if it past 14 days, Otilo, the data don't go. That's just it. Nothing more. Nothing big, nothing less. So that's just how it is. So yeah, now I'll just leave it at 7 days. But some environment, they can say 90 days. Because 90 days is okay. That is why all these things you need to sit down with decision makers and tell them, okay, how many days do you think will be here? Should you put 90? Should you put this? Should you put that? So that's just it. So here now we'll just go down. We'll leave all the default settings, enable sub delete for containers, this to retain 7 days and all. So if we enable version history, like I explained the other time, it just helps you to have versions of changes that happen so that you can always go back to the previous version that you have. Just like those that build websites. Maybe for instance now you you move to version 2 of an application and customers are now complaining, this version 2 is too heavy, it's too complex, blah blah blah. The management can tell you, oh yeah, go back to version 1. Since customers are the king, they are the ones that will decide whether anything will work or anything will not work. So you have to go back. You have to go back to version 1. That's just exactly what version history is. So we'll now go down. So all this access control, this enable immutability, if you enable it, it means that you have more recovery options and data protection. So if we come to encryption now, just like you can encrypt your system, when they say encryption, it's more like putting a password to be able to access a storage. That's just a simple definition of encryption. Providing a password for storage access. That's the encryption, basically. That's just what encryption is. So you can, if you want to encrypt, you can use Microsoft managed keys. You can use customer managed keys. So when they say customer managed keys, from the definition, the keys are managed by the customer in their infrastructure. But Microsoft managed keys, the keys are managed by Microsoft in Microsoft infrastructure. So I won't want us to go deep into all this. So now we can also see you can enable infrastructure encryption. If you want, if you enable it, is okay. It gives you double way encryption. Here now, if we go to tags, you can tags is just for you to assign tags so that you can easily identify your resources. So that's all. We can just review and create. Once we review and create, it's going to show us some validations. Once the validation pass, then we'll know that we have created our storage account. So we'll just click on create. Then whoop, our storage account has been created. So we'll just wait for it to create. So sometimes cloud deployment like this is good when you are deploying your resources. Always check the summary like this. So if you check the summary, it even helps you, but it has disappeared. So before you create, you can click on the review so that you can review the creation process. But now the resources is creating. Does anybody have any question? If you have any question, you can ask. Don't be scared. Ask your question. Ask. Ask. If I'm too fast or I'm too slow, you can tell me so that I can reduce my tempo or I can increase my tempo. We just have like 1 hour, 15 minutes more. So we can finish before that time, Sha. In case maybe, okay, if you are here, please raise your hands up. With a raise of hand, let me know those that are here. Raise your hands or just give a reaction. Give a reaction. Okay, only Ezekiel. Okay, Gloria. Okay, Dan Elijah. What about Ikechukwu Mbam and Agbola Emmanuel? Agbola Emmanuel, you just turned on your camera. Are you here? Okay, Ikechukwu have raised his hand. Okay, we are all here. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, that's good. Agbola also. Please, let's not sleep. Oh. If you are sleepy, just drop message on the chat. I will end the section because I want to carry everybody along. I don't want a situation where anybody is not carried along. And I'm going to drop the recording so that anybody that is not here, they can always watch. But the advantage of being in a section live is because if you have any question, you can ask live and you can always go and watch later. So two-way win for you. So now our storage account is loading So what I will do is I'm going to refresh the page. See here now we can see that it's loading. These are all the settings that you have for storage account. So I'll refresh the page. Let me see. Sometimes our network can be slow, but what do? We just have to continue, just refresh. So let's just wait for it to load. Yeah, you can bring your hands down. Bring your hands down. Everybody can bring your hands down, like bring your hands down. So here now we have our storage account set up properly. So here now we can see some settings. Under blob service, we can see all the settings we specified for blob service. The default access tier we specified hot, and it is assumed that the files we are going to be storing on this storage account is going to be files that we'll be accessing frequently. So for blob sub delete, we enable 7 days, 7 days. We didn't enable versioning. We didn't enable change field. So you are going to see everything you enabled here. For security, the minimum version we selected was TLS 1.2. For networking, we said all network. So that's where you will see your overview. So that is why this overview is important, because it shows you the default settings you picked. So we'll be going through all the settings one after the other. So activity logs. So here in activity logs, it helps you check who does what and when the person does it. For instance, you can be in an organization, everybody have access to this storage account. Somebody will go and delete something. They will say, who deleted it? No, no be me, na me, na me. If you come to activity log, if you search, it will tell you who deleted what and who did not delete it. So it will show the person's name. You can see event initiated by Emmanuel Oyimafu. If it was Gloria Inenna that initiated the what that initiated it, you will see Gloria Inenna there. It will show your name. Your MD will know that it's Gloria that deleted that file. I'm just using you as an example. I'm not saying you're going to delete any file. Oh. So that is how it is. Then the
I
next one,
understand.
yeah, the next ones are tags. So for tags, if I tag this storage account, you can always use those tags to identify them by the value. Here now we have diagnostics and solve problem. So if you have any problem, like you can use the diagnostics here to solve your problem. That is why I always tell people in Microsoft, you don't work alone. If you're a Liverpool fan, you know that the logo of Liverpool is we will never walk alone. That's the logo of Liverpool. So we'll never walk alone. So I'm coming. Let me just charge my laptop. I think the battery is going down. Just 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. So we never work alone in Microsoft. Copilot is there. Copilot can help you. So let's encourage ourselves. Anything you want to achieve, you can achieve it. There is no limit to what you can achieve, because these days life is easy. ChatGPT is there. As in, there are a lot of AIs that can make life easy for you. And really, if you use it, it will work for you. So it doesn't select, it's not a respecter of anybody. Anybody that use it, yeah, you get results and you get the job done. So that's just it. So the next one here, we have access control. So for access control now, it's more or less like you can delegate access to your resources. This storage account now, let's say for instance, I want Immortal Brother to be the one working on this storage account, and I want him to only have access to this storage account. You can use role-based access control to give him access. You can just come here, eh, under role assignment. I want Immortal Brother to be managing the storage account. You click on the plus sign here. Then you come to add role assignment. Then from add role assignment, you just wait. Once it loads now, you can now specify the role you want. Microsoft have different role, but it's good you are specific to what you want. Since we are looking for roles for storage accounts, because we want Immortal Brother to be managing our storage account, you can just come here and type storage so that you see rules associated to storage. So storage account, So now let me just use only storage. Let's see. So for storage now, we can see some rules that you can specify for storage. We have storage account contributor. So if Immortal Brother now is a storage account contributor, it means that Immortal Brother, I'm giving him allow access. Where is that storage account contributor again? Okay, I'm giving him access to manage the storage account, including accessing storage account keys. And storage account keys is very important too, because with storage account keys, you can log into the storage accounts from you can log into the storage account from the from you can log in the storage account from like Storage Explorer. You can use it to access the storage account from applications. So storage account keys is very important. So if Immortal Brother now is the one that will be managing the storage account, I may say storage account contributor is too much. Let me give him storage account key operator. So storage account key operator now is means like the storage account key operator are allowed to list and regenerate keys on the storage account. So basically, role-based access control lets you give somebody access based on their job functions or what they will do. For instance, now I can say, okay, let him be a storage blob data reader so that it will only have access to the blob data and nothing more. Or storage blob delegator. It will only be able to delegate access. So that's just basically what identity and access management is. So IAM means identity and access management. So if we come down to data migration, so for data migration now, if you want to migrate data, then you can select the resource you want to migrate, the resource type. If it's storage account, you select it, then you select the transfer scenario. So you can move account to new region, move account to new resource group. So depending on what you want to do. So for events now, this will tell you if there are any events that have happened in recent time regarding the storage account. So now if we come to storage browser now will show us like where we will see all the storage services. We have blob container. Blob container is used to store unstructured data, but we are going to look at them. We have file share. File share also you can store unstructured data like pictures, videos, and music. White table is used to store structured data and semi-structured data, such as tables. Like you can use it to store table. YQ, you can use it to store messages and all. So here now for storage browser, if I have data now on any of my storage options, I'll be able to access them here. But let's just move down to data storage. So this data storage now gives us the options that Microsoft Storage Account has to offer. If I click on container now, from container now, it will show me that it will once you create a storage account, it always comes with log container. So here now, if I want to create a new container, I'll click on add container. So if I click on add container, just like container is used to bring goods from outside the country. Also, this container, and you know, those containers, they are file stores inside. They are goods stores inside. So you can create a container to store file. So let me give this container YAF container. So I'm calling it YAF container. So the anonymous private level now is no anonymous access, meaning that somebody cannot just access this storage account, this particular blob from anywhere because it has no anonymous access. So I'll click on create. So once I click on create, it's going to create the container for me, which is YAF container. So if I open this YAF container now, I will be able to upload files to this YAF container. So let's take for instance now, this YAF container now, I want to create different directories. I want to create directory for media, maybe YAF media. I'll click on OK. So if I come back to the storage account now, if I click on YAF container, so let me come back to containers. So from containers now, we created YAF container. So if I click on YAF container, here, we are going to see, I want us to see so from here now, you can upload image and you can add a directory. So let me upload a picture to this particular storage account. So basically now, you can browse. So once you browse for the picture, just like the way you upload pictures to your Google Drive, you can also upload pictures to your container also. So now I've uploaded this picture. If I click on upload, the picture is going to upload here now. I can see the WhatsApp image here. So it's going to show. So this is the URL that I can use to access this image from anywhere. So if I copy this URL now and put it on the browser, let's see if I'll be able to access it. Yeah. So it's telling me that public access not permitted. So I won't be able to access this URL, this particular image, because public access is not accessed. So if you remember when we were creating the container, it told us that it has private access. So if you want people to be able to access it, then there are two things you need to do. You can generate storage access key so that people will be able to access resources in this particular storage account, but the only way they can access it is using Storage Explorer. So like I made mention earlier, storage account is very good. Like it's good because it gives you secure access to your storage. So basically now you can create keys for people to access your storage account. So as it is now, key one now is more or less like you are selecting the keys in your, maybe when we go to the part, I'm going to show you guys where you can have access to these keys. So you can select storage access policy if you have. So what it means is that anybody that will have access to this picture, the person must be able to, you give them this SAS token and URL. That's what they will use to have access to this picture. So basically, that means it's secured. Somebody anywhere cannot just have access to the picture just like that. So you can use SAS token to give people access to the blob storage. So basically, shared access signature is used to give access to resources in a container or to a container itself. So basically, I just want us to get to understand that. So let's not look at it as if it's hard, but it's for our own security. Because if everything is just open just like that, it won't be good. So here now, you can define permission. If you want the person to be able to read, you want the person to be able to add, you want the person to be able to create, you can specify that. Let me just say read, add, and create. Then we can come down here and specify the time. So I'm going to specify yesterday. Then I'm going to come here. The expiring date could be 4/58/2028. Let me just leave it like that. Then now we have, let me say, generate SAS token. So this SAS token now, you can use a storage account to access it. You can use Storage Explorer to access it, but let me paste this URL on the browser. Let's see if we are going to be able to access it. So now, let me copy this URL now and paste it on the browser. So if I come to this browser here now and I paste it here, what did it show me? It showed me that picture that I uploaded, which is my picture. So now, even if like let's say somebody have access to the URL here, let me come back here. Let me come back to, so this is done. So here now, since you have generated it, you come back to overview. So from overview here now, remember, this is the URL to the image. So if I copy it and I come to the browser here and I paste it, you see, it's not giving me access. But if I use the shared access signature that I created and I paste it here, let me use that one. Let me look for it here. I think it's this one. So let me paste it. So once I paste it now, I have access to the picture. So for instance, maybe you want to use the storage account for a website. Normally web developers, they collect like URLs to pictures or image that'll be on the website. You can give them this URL now that, okay, this is the picture I want to be in the front page of my website. So anytime, maybe for instance, now remember when we were creating the shared access signature, we specified we specified time. So the start time is 23rd and the end time is 25th. If you want to use it for a website, you can increase the time to even 2 years. But the most important thing is the only way they can access it is using this shared access signature, and it is very secured. Why? Because you can give them particular permissions that you want them to have. So for the permissions here now, you see read, add, and create. Even if somebody hack my website, the person cannot do anything to the resources that I have there. The person can only read it, but he can't delete. Imagine they can delete, that means they'll just delete it. They will delete it. So basically, that's where all this permission comes in. So that's for container. So let me just close this guy. Then we have been able to create a container and we upload an image to the container. So you can upload videos, you can upload pictures, you can upload different things. Like you can save your files, save anything you want to save in this container. So let's go back to the storage account again. So here now we have created a container. We have created a container here, which is YAF container. And in YAF container, we have the we have our WhatsApp group here. If I click on this one at the top, I'm going to see it. So basically, you can upload your pictures. Let's say YAF now want to be using storage account. They can be uploading all their pictures, everything that they have, like all their image. It will be secured. Nothing will happen to it. Nobody will delete it. Even if somebody deletes it, remember you have 7 days to go and restore back. So that's just it. So let's go to the next storage option, which is file share. So for file share now, this one works like your local file system, your SMB share. So if you want to create a file share, you click on file share. Then from file share, you give it a name. So let's say let's say YAF media dump. Then you can specify the maximum capacity. So here now the maximum capacity is 100 TB, which is very, very large. Like because you can save, even all the videos, even if you have like they should be doing like 1,000 videos, everything will save there. So we'll leave it this way. We'll leave the access tier to transaction optimize. You can use hot, you can use cool. Transaction optimize is okay because is the lowest transaction cost pricing for transaction heavy workload duty. So always use, if you are using all these things in your lab environment, always use something cheap. So here now, we'll come to backup. So for backup, I'm not going to enable backup because enabling backup will consume resources. So I'll just click on review and create, then click on create. So once it creates, I'm going to have a file share. I'm going to have a a file share in my environment. So if I come back to file share now, you're going to see here now that I have YAF media dump. This is a file share. So this file share, I can map it to my system. This file share, I can map it to my local system. This one I'm using. I'll be able to access it. But before I map it, let me create a folder. So here now, if you want to see anything on this file share, you can click on browse. So once you click on browse, it takes you to the file share itself. So you can add directory. So you can add directory. Now this one can be for social media. Social media. Then click OK. Then I'm going to add another directory again for okay. Okay, let me add another, let me call it breakthrough. Breakthrough directory. Click OK. So now we have breakthrough on social media. Let me add another directory. Let me call it ICTG. ICTG. Then click OK. Let me add another directory. Let me call it, what name will I call this directory now? Let me call it, which other unit? Protocol. Then hit OK. Let me add choir. So you can be adding YAF now. You know, in YAF, they have different units. You can say ushering also. Ushering. So I'm just giving use case of what you can use a storage account for. If, for instance, breakthrough now, breakthrough are the ones in charge of media. So you can add a directory under this directory. You can upload. You can upload anything you want to upload, like a video, anything whatsoever. You can if I upload this, let me upload. What will I upload now? What do I have here? Oh, if let me upload this executable file. You can even upload an executable file. That's Git. You can upload Git, upload. So basically now if I'm uploading it, that means, for instance, if you have guys now, they will be using Git, and I want us to have the Git executable file in a location so that anybody in that unit, I'll just tell them, well, yeah, go to our storage account and get the Git and install. So like in FT now, we may have applications that we use. So instead of those applications to be on hard disks, we can have them on the storage account so that people can have access to it. Like Dickens board now, they may have their own application in their own storage account. So now we have created the directories and we have uploaded files. So if I click on this YAF media dump now, we will see all the folders we created. So my network may be my network is kind of somehow slow now. It's not really doing well, but let's just manage it. So now the next thing I want us to do is I want us to connect this storage account to my system so that I will be able to see that storage account here. So I'll just come to, now this is the storage account, which is YAF Media. So I have to click on it so that it will show. So here now I'll click on connect. So once I click on connect, it means that I want to connect the storage account. So somebody like our youth pastor now, Pastor Steve, can say that, okay, you want to give somebody access, because if maybe YAF have their own Azure subscription, it will be one of the YAF escorts that will be in charge. Pastor Steve can say, okay, and give this guy access to the storage account so that he should have access to the file so he can upload. So depending. So now, if you want to connect storage account now to maybe your system, you have two authentication method. You can use Active Directory or Entra ID or storage account, but here we're using storage account key. So I'll just click on show script. So if I click on show script, it gives me a script that will go and run on my system. So I'm going to copy this script. Then I'll come to my local system now and type PowerShell so that I can map that storage account to my system. Then I'll click on it. Like, you can run it as an admin. You can even run it as a regular user. But let me run it as an admin. So yes. Then once it opens, I'm going to run that command. Then I'll collapse it. Then I'll paste that URL, that command I copied. Then I'll I'll select it. I'll select everything. Then I'll click on play. So it will map that storage account to my system. So we'll just wait for it to map. So it might take a while. We'll just exercise patience. So once it's done, we still have other resources we'll create. We have other resources we'll create, like we'll be creating SQL server and we'll be creating IoT, but those ones won't take time, sha. We'll finish it early, then we'll call it an evening. So we can go and sleep and rest. So if you are still here, raise your hands up. Let me know if I'm ending the class now. Your hands up. So we can see that the storage account has been added to my system successfully. So if I click on File Explorer now, and I go to this PC, if I click on this PC, I'll see it. So let me click on this PC. So although it's not showing here, I can only see C drive and Ubuntu. But normally, let me go to network. So if I added it to a Windows server, now it will show. So basically, it will show on my system as if like it will show just like the way I can see my C drive here. The way I can see my C drive and open it and see files. That's how I'll be seeing ICTG, technical, breakthrough, protocol and ushering. It will be showing just like the way it's showing here. If I go to browse, the way it's showing here, just like we have ICTG and everything. It would have shown on my system like that, but for a while it's supposed to show because it even ran successfully that yes, it has been mapped. So, but for some reason it's not showing. Let me check the disk management. Let me see. But basically, that's just basically once you add it, you will see all your files and all the storage there. So that's just it. So that's for file share, for file share. So you can use it to create shares. You can use it for just like the way you have SMB on your local C drive. So you can create folders like this, ICTG and the likes. So that's for file share. So remember, we have other storage medium, queue and table. So for queue, you can upload messages. If you click on add queue now, you can call the queue. So you can call the queue a Berichi queue, QUE, and you see okay. So if you say Berichi queue now, it's going to load. So basically now, once you open it, you can add messages to it. So all these things are just basically like, okay, you are creating it. The essence of a storage account is to store either pictures, videos, messages, or table. So for table now, maybe for instance, YAF account, YAF account. The accountant now maybe is using this is using database. So you can use YAF account. You can create a table for YAF account. Then you can always connect to it, create, add columns, remove columns, just like the way you have your normal SQL table. So that's just what we have in storage account. So the other sense is like I was saying the other time, if you go to security and networking, you will see access keys. So these access keys now, this like I was saying the other time, this access keys is what gives access to your storage accounts. Like if somebody have your storage account name and have this access key, the person have access to your storage account. Like the person can like delete anything, do anything he like because it gives them full access. But you see the way we did for this container that we created shared access signature. That's the best way to give access to somebody if the person wants to access any file in your container. Just give them read access or write instead of giving them the access key completely. So this access key is more or less like giving somebody your username and password to your account. That means the person have access to move all your money. But if you give somebody only your, let's say you give somebody your maybe like some component of your account, but not all your accounts, then you know that the person doesn't have access to everything. So in that share, access key is just like your BVN. If somebody have your BVN, you have access to all your bank accounts, everything. But if somebody have your single account number, it's only that account that the person have access to. So that's just storage account. So if you come to data management, you can still do some settings here. Maybe as future change, object replication. If you want to change a replication, you can always change it. You can create replication rule here. If you want to replicate maybe storage account from one storage account to another storage account, you can do that. So basically, all these things are just depending on what you want to do. So it's not really too tough like that. So here now, our storage account, remember, we selected local redundant storage. Our storage account is in West Europe and it's only here. This is where the storage account is in West Europe. So from here now, this is where it is. See where Nigeria is. Nigeria is here, but my storage account is here. You can see. If I need access to any file now, from here it will travel down to this place and come and give me. So imagine the region is here. It will be easier and nearer, but still, this one is not still so far. Had it been maybe we went somewhere here, that someone will say, this one is far. Regions here now. I'm not really a geography expert. I don't know the countries that are here and the name. So that's just it. So we are done with storage account. Does anybody have any question before I go to the next part? Any question? So this is just a basic things about storage account. I can use storage account for. Does anybody have any question before we go to creating SQL server and other things? Does anybody have any question on that, on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening,
Max,
sir, and
good
everyone.
evening. Yeah, good evening.
I really appreciate the process and everything because the teaching pattern has always been like, as in those that just as in beginners as we are, they have really made great impact. But there is a place I was unable to grab because I was mixed. I was trying to fix one or two things. That place that used me as a scenario, for instance, how to recover deleted item and discover who deleted it. I'm
Okay.
so sorry that I have to take you back,
No, it's fine.
but I
It's
think
fine.
that was where I left. Mm.
It's fine. So let me upload another picture and delete it so that we'll now go and check who deleted it.
Okay, no problem.
So let me upload. I want to upload something like kilobyte. Okay, let me upload this Ubuntu Red Hat. Upload. So now this file has been uploaded here. So if I come here and select it and I click on delete, delete. So once I delete it now, I've deleted it. Then if I want to restore it, we are going to come back and recover it back. But in the meantime, let's go and check who deleted it. So we'll come back to the storage account here. Then we'll go to, where is this place again? Activity logs. So this activity logs is where all the activities are logged. So you can see here now, everything that is happening in the storage accounts, you will see them. I created a queue. Then here, storage account key. Everything is here. So now, if I refresh again, it will show. So from these activity logs, you can see who does what and who does what. You can see here now, I created a file share. I started it. It picked it. I list the storage account keys. It it showed it. So everything you do, it always picks it. It always picks it. Like from here now, you are going to see it, but sometimes the information doesn't come real time. It might come like, let's say, maybe after 1 minute. But if I come back here and check, it will show me that I deleted something. So, but in the meantime, let's go and restore back to the, let's go and try to restore back what we deleted. So we come here, click on now. Here now, we can come to the properties here where, so let me check. Edit columns. These last modified access tier. So let me cancel this. Let me check here. Change access level, upload. So let me refresh. But basically, you can recover back. Let me come to metadata. Okay. So once you delete any file, because of the retention policy, you can always recover them back. You can recover them back so long as soft delete is enabled. And if you want to see who does what from the from rather from the activity logs, you'll be able to see who deleted any file and what file the person deleted. So I'm just looking for how we can get the file back. So let me go back. This is the container here. So from this container, okay, probably maybe it's still propagating, but there is an area where we should get, but we didn't enable snapshot share version. So that might not really work. But for activity logs, so if you want to know who deleted anything or who made any change from activity logs, you'll be able to see it. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you very much,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
Great.
So from here, you can see everything. You can see all the activities. You can even filter last month. You can do custom. You can filter by time spam. You can do a lot of settings here to view what happened. So that's just it. It will tell you who initiated what and what the person did. So that's just it. Okay. Any other question before we go? Anybody with any question before we go? Because we are going to the next part now. Okay. Since there's no question, so what I will just do is I'll go and delete this storage account because we are done with the storage account. So I'll delete it so that I can create
Good
an
evening.
SQL server. So do you have a question? If you have a question, you can ask.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening. Good evening, boss. Sorry, I was somewhere, so I joined the class late. So I don't know. Maybe
Okay,
you can
no
just
problem.
just one.
I'm going to upload the recording. Don't worry. I will upload the recording because if I go back now to start again,
No
it may not be good.
problem. No
Since
problem.
since we are recording it,
Bye.
I will always go back and share the recording. So I want to delete these resources now. So let me just delete it because as you are creating anything, you delete immediately. So I'll delete it. So the next thing we are going to be creating now, we are going to be creating an SQL database. So we are going to be doing that. So we'll just create an SQL database now. Now we have successfully deleted the storage account. So I'll just come to my search resources and type SQL database. SQL. So I'm creating SQL database. So there are several databases you can create. You can create SQL Server, SQL Managed Instance, and SQL Elastic Pool. So I'll just click on SQL database and create it. So now here, I don't have any SQL database created. So I'll just click on create. So I can create a new one. Yeah. So I'll just click on create. So we'll wait for it to load. So once it loads, on the basic setting, we have to select now they are telling me want to try Azure SQL database for free, create a free serverless database with 1000 vCore. And so all these things are just for you to test. Then if it's okay, you continue. So I'll select our normal resource group, which is YAF Cloud Computing ROG. So this is SQL database. Some of us that use SQL, we know that you can install SQL on your laptop, on your system. So SQL that you install on your system is just like infrastructure. You are the one managing the infrastructure whether SQL is installed. But Microsoft now is telling you that, and you know that most times if you install SQL on your system is very slow. Imagine you now self installing SQL on your system is better because what workload is using your database. Imagine a big organization. Imagine the kind of workload that their database will be running. So that is why most times cloud is good because if you are using cloud database, SQL database, the underlying infrastructure, you won't be the one managing it. Microsoft will be managing it for you. That is why all these are platform as a service. The storage account you created is a platform as a service because you are not the one managing the infrastructure. Your own is just to create and store your files. Storage SQL database, the same thing. Create the database and store the file. You can use this database for a lot of things. It can be the database of an on-premise application. It can be the database of a cloud application. It can be the database of even your business. You can use it for a lot of things, so long as you can connect the database to your application. That's all. So for the database name now, let's just give our database, let's call it DB1 or let's just say DB1. Then for the server, we can select a new, here now we'll just click on create new since we don't have existing server. So we'll just create new. So that will create a new server. So we are going to give it a unique name. The name has to be unique. So we'll just say, let me see, SQL.YAF, then 11223. Let me see if it allows it. Okay, nobody have used it. Then East they say your solution does not have access to create server in the selected region. So I'll select West Europe. Let me see if it will allow me to create SQL database in West Europe. So now, did it allow? If it doesn't allow, which region did they now want me to use? Let me say Central US. Let me see if it will allow me for Central US. Okay, it allowed me for Central US, but as soon as I just finish, I will delete it. So the next thing now is authentication method. So for authentication method, we have different authentication method that you can use to authenticate to the SQL server. If you have SQL server installed on your laptop, you know that for you to log into SQL Management Studio, or what did they call it? SMSC, I mean something like that. You have to put in your username or your password to log in. The same thing happens in cloud. For you to log into your database, you need to provide your username and password. So here now we are going to use SQL authentication. So I'm going to provide the username. So the username is going to be SQL user. SQL. So you can see that cloud is more or less like very, very easy. It's not difficult. It's something that, imagine you want to install SQL on system. You know that sometimes if I want to install SQL, I spend sometimes 2 hours, I'm still installing it on a local system. But this one now, you don't finish. So I'll just click OK. So this is SQL Server in the cloud, just like the way you have SQL Server in your on-premise environment. So now here now the backup storage, we are back to backup again. So now for backup, you can specify the one you want. Remember, during redundant storage, your data will be on this region and another region. So if you use Joe, and your money they talk. So depending on what you want, but a production environment normally you have to go for the best too, because if anything happens to their data, they can even arrest you. Because data is very important in enterprise organizations. May God help us. So now we have created the server. Want to use SQL Elastic Pool. So we'll select the options we want, connectivity method. So all these options now depends. If what's the workload environment? Is it development or production? If it's production, you select production. If it's development, you select development. As cloud engineers, you work with the application guys. They will tell you what they want. Then once they tell you what they want, you follow suit. That's the cloud engineer. So for public access now, you can specify if you want public access. So here now, we can just say public endpoints for connectivity method. If you say no access, means nobody can access it except the person is on that network. So public endpoint is fine. So firewall rules, no. Client IP, no. Everything, no. So what we are going to check here is allow Azure services and resources to access this server. So let's check. Do we have that here? Minimum TLS version 1.2. So here now we have allow Azure services or resources to access the server. Yes. So like as I was saying, you can create a database for different purpose. So you can create it for different purpose. You can say you want to create the database so that an application can use it as a database where it will be storing data. So in that case, you have to select this guy, which is allow Azure service and resources to access this server. If you don't select it, there's no way. How will it be able to access it? When you see allow Azure services and resources to access the server, no. So then the next thing is under the networking, we'll go next to security. So now we have Microsoft Defender for SQL. So if I want to secure this storage account now with Microsoft Defender for SQL, I will say start free trial. But this one, I'm not going to do that too because it's going to be consuming. So you can just leave that one. It's better you just lock up. Except if maybe you want to use Microsoft Defender for SQL, then you can do that. So for the additional setting here now, we can just say simple. So for simple, you can just leave the options, click OK here. Then, normally data source, start with a blank database, restore from backup or simple data to populate your new database. So if you are creating a database and you have an existing backup, you can restore from the backup or you can create a sample database. So here now we'll just click on review and create. So we'll review and create. We'll click on create. So you can see how much I will be billed. This one is not even expensive. 5.74 USD per month. It's even cheap. It's cheap. I thought it would be like, let's say $5,000 or $1,000. But when we are done, I'll delete it. I'll delete it immediately because what would I be using? I won't be using it for anything. I don't have any application that I want to be using the SQL database. So let's just wait for it to create. Once it creates, we are going to be creating an IoT hub. Then once you create an IoT hub, then we'll just close for the day. So let's just wait for the deployment to create. Deployment is creating. Deployment is in progress. This is what you'll be seeing most times as a cloud engineer. Deployment in progress, deployment in progress. This deployment in progress now is more or less like they are doing the work for you. Normally, if I want to install SQL Server, like SQL Server used to take me time because one, I need good internet, I need this, I need that, I need the other one. Sometimes you install, you uninstall and start again. So that's why we need to appreciate platform as a service because they are giving you a platform that you don't need to stress yourself. Just do what you want to do. So all these are platform as a service offering produced by Microsoft. So let's just wait for it to continue. On Saturday, there's an event, Techies event. Let's try and come. It's very important because you are going to meet people, you are going to network, you are going to learn, you are going to see people that are very good, they are going to teach, they are going to do some presentation. Coming for tech event like that helps. I dropped the link on our group chat. If you have not registered, register. Come for the event. You see people, like you ask questions, you do a lot of things. You see a lot of Microsoft MVPs. MVPs are Microsoft most valuable professionals. So you see them. You can connect with MVPs. So those are the key takeaways for that. Let's just wait for our SQL server to create. Once it creates, then we are just going to test. Once we test, then we are going to go ahead to create an IoT hub. So that's what we're going to be doing for today. So it's still creating. Let's just wait for it to create. So this recording, I'm going to drop it on our YouTube channel. If I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow. So I may be choked up this night, but I'm going to download it. Once I download it, then I will upload it. I won't spend much time. So those that did not attend the section, they can watch. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. At least tell your friends that want to go into cloud. They can go and watch the videos on my YouTube channel. So all Microsoft Azure services always have activity logs. So with activity logs, you can view activities on what's happening at a particular time of changes of like what do they even use the word again? Change management tracking. Can easy to track. So now for database now, what we need to go here is the database manager. So from database manager now, we'll select we're already in the database. So we'll come down to data management. So is it data management? So let me click on the SQL overview. So from the SQL overview here, we'll need to connect to the database. So now let's see, connect. So where is that option? Where can we connect to the database? Okay, query editor. So this is where we can connect to the database. So just like the way if you want to connect to your SQL server, you click on SSMS. SSMS will give you where you can create tables, do a lot of things, run queries. So it's just the same thing. So here now I'll put the password. The password I specified the other time. Where is that password? Oh, I'm not good in keeping password in my head. Let me just look for the password. Let me just copy it. Copy. Let me paste it here. Let me see. Then click OK. So now I'll click on continue as Emmanuel. So now it's giving us, so let's see. It's not allowing us to authenticate. So let's go. Then set. We are going to do something. So there's something we need to do on the database for us to be able to authenticate, because it's saying us that we should set the firewall. So we'll come to overview here. We'll click on overview. I'll just say, okay, no problem. Then from overview, we'll come to, I'll close this guy. I don't want to save the password. Then we'll click on, there's where we can add client IP. Let me see. Set server firewall. So let me go down. Okay, set server firewall. So firewall is more or less like protection to protect your database. So for set fire access firewall now, I'll click on, where will I go to? Then add client IP. So where do I add client IP here? So I'll click on connectivity. Then from connectivity, let me see, because it's actually from here. So just hold on. Let me see what we need to do. Okay. So we're already there. So let me add client IP. So let me add client IP here. So we can just, because normally from Microsoft Azure, it will pick the IP address since everything is on a particular network. So we'll click on save. So once we save it, we'll now go and try to authenticate to that SQL server. So here now, it was not authenticating because for you to authenticate to it, you need to have access. You need your client's IP needs to be added to the firewall, because firewall is more or less like it's in the middle. Firewall now is between me and the SQL server. I was trying to authenticate, but because I've not added my client IP to the allowed IP that will be able to authenticate to that firewall, I'm unable to. So right now, I will now go back to query editor. So from here now, I can come back to the DB, then come back to query editor. Then from query editor, let me try to authenticate. Now let me see if I won't be able to. Then click OK. So never. Don't save your password on a browser. So you can see now that I was able to authenticate to the database. Then it was not working. I had to come to overview. I will just click on OK. I don't want to save this. Because authentication was not working, I had to come to overview. From overview, I had to click on set server firewall. Let's not forget, firewall is in the middle between who wants to connect to the database and the database itself. Set firewall. Then from set firewall, selected network, because if you don't use this option, that means everybody will be able to access it. So you have to be on a selected network to be able to access the SQL server. So that's why we added our client IP. Then when we added our client IP, we were able to authenticate to the database. Then coming to query editor, from query editor, we now provided our username and password. So if you are creating your database, you always create a username and password. So that's it. So after doing that, you can run some queries. From here now, you can run logs. If you are very good with SQL, you know that in SQL, you create tables, like you run PowerShell commands to create table. I remember then you select from this, from SL table. There are some people that they are very good with all these things, but as cloud engineers, we don't really need to know all this, we don't really need to know much of database, because our core is just to manage the infrastructure and to help those that are using the infrastructure, like create resources, manage what they have in the cloud, and to secure it. Not just to create resources, also security. So from here now, this query we ran gave us answers for, because the query was select from top 20 from the name, product name, then sales, then product category. So we can see them here, helmet, socket. So that query we ran, this is the result of the query. So This is just SQL database in the cloud. In the cloud, instead of it in your local PC. So everything can be here, saving your PC from dragging. So does anybody have any question before I delete the database and create the last thing we're going to create? Then we call it an evening IoT hub. Does anybody have any question before we go?
Yes, sir. So thank you very much, Father, for this far you've taught us. But I have a question. My question is in the aspect: how do we get a cloud storage? How like after creating this, do we send our personal data, like some of the informations we have in our system or in our phone, to the cloud? And how do we access the cloud without is it that we must come through this process before we can access it, or before we send or we store information like data on it?
Okay.
Okay.
I like that your question. That your question is a very good question and a very, very nice question. So now, for you to store
Thank
your
you, sir.
data, for you to store your data in the cloud, normally we have different storage mediums for storage accounts. You know, when we created a storage account, let me even use one of the storage account I have here because I've deleted that one, but I have another storage account. Let me use that one to show you what something. You remember, we have different types of storage. We have blob storage. So if you are using blob storage, so for blob storage now, if you come to data management under containers, so from containers here, you can always add a new container. So you can see I have a lot of SQL, this one, the other one, different things. So for blob, if you want to upload files, we have what we call Storage Explorer. So Storage Explorer, you can write it down somewhere. Just go and check what Storage Explorer is. So with Storage Explorer, you can install it on your local computer. Then once you install it on your local computer, your the owner of the subscription will give you access to the storage account, either using shared access signature or giving you the storage account key itself. So once they give you and that storage explorer is installed on your system, you can upload files from that storage explorer to your storage account directly. And aside that, let's say for instance, you are using, let's say you are using file share. So what this file share is more or less like adding an external hard drive to your system. So if for instance now this your organization have file share, they can add this, they can map this file share to your system in such a way that from your system you can copy file to the file share. You don't need to log into Azure to copy file to the file share. So basically, if you log into Azure, you can upload files directly to your storage account, or from your system, if you have mapped the file share to your system, just like the way we have, if you map it now, just like the way we have C drive here, just like the way we have C drive here, you have the like the storage account, the file share here. You can copy things from here, paste there, do drag and drop. So long as you have permission to that file share, you can always do that. Then if it's for blob, if you want to access blob, you can use Storage Explorer. So from here now, if you click on overview here, you will see Storage Explorer here. So if I click on Open Storage Explorer, it will ask me, you can download Storage Explorer if you do not have. If I download Storage Explorer now, although my system, like I've downloaded a lot of things on this system, I don't want to drag the system further. If not, I would have installed Storage Explorer. It's good. With Storage Explorer is just like File Explorer. You know, if you open File Explorer here, you can view all the files you have on your system. You can do this, do this, do the other one. So that's just the same thing with Storage Explorer. It helps you view everything you have on your storage. File Explorer will view all the files you have on your local system. Storage Explorer will help you view all the files you have on the storage account. And you can even copy and add files in it from your system. Did that answer your question, madam?
Yes, sir. But I still want to ask another question. This cloud, is it can I say is the same thing like storing information in HubSpot?
HubSpot. When
You
you
know,
say
it's an app.
HubSpot, right? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
It's
an
almost
app
this.
that has cloud, as in that
Yeah.
stores information in cloud.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay.
You can call it
Okay,
that
that
way.
means I can use HubSpot to store the information, or using this method, blob distance storage.
Yeah. So most of those cloud storage, they have different technologies they use. They have different technologies they use. So that's just it. They have different technologies they use. So some of them, their own might be cloud, fully cloud. Some of them, their own might not be really fully cloud. It might be that maybe like everybody with their technology. Gmail now, for Gmail, if you want to move anything to Gmail, you have to upload it from your phone. So Gmail is just still the same thing as storage account, but storage account is more matured than Gmail because I'm just using Gmail like Google Drive rather. Google Drive, not Gmail.
Yeah.
So Google Drive, you can
Mm.
upload files. Storage account, you can upload files. But storage account is expensive. It's not that it's even Google Drive is not easy because my Google will only give you 110 gig, how many gig for free. Then if you need more storage, you pay. So it's still almost the same thing.
15,
Okay, I'll buy it.
Uh, so that's just it.
15.
So
Yeah.
15 kilobyte. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. So we'll end here for today. I don't want us to do another thing. So on Saturday, by God's grace, since I'm going for techie events by 10, so we'll start by 9. So that
No, boss. When is the
eh,
group? I saw
what
it
did
in
you
the group.
say?
When is I
It's
saw it in
starting
the
by
group now.
it's starting by 10. So let's try to be there so that we'll
So
learn.
I want to go with you.
Is
You
it in
want to
Lagos
go with
Island?
me? No, it's not in Lagos
Yeah.
Island. It's in this place, Ikeja. Ikeja.
Okay,
It's in
guys,
Ikeja.
that's
Mainland. It's
yeah,
mainland. And let's try to be there. So you want to go with me? Which area do you? Wait. Okay. Let me stop this recording.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. No problem. So which area do you stay?